Is LinkedIn's cringe just exposing a deeper problem of corporate life? LinkedIn has become really synonymous with cringe-worthy content, from inspirational posts about 4:30 a.m. ice baths to these really polished humble brags from executives. The posts often glorify lifestyles only achievable by a privileged few, leaving most people, those juggling like children, mental health, or financial stress, feeling really alienated. But if the platform's viral posts make us cringe, why does the cycle continue? I went down a deep rabbit hole of LinkedIn parody videos, and honestly, they were hilarious.
If you don't come out of the pandemic with a new skill, a new income, a new expertise, you never lack time. You lack discipline.
The preeminent career platform where people go for job listings, resume building, and toxic thought leadership.
How microdosing helps me relate to the women in our office. What Andrew Tate can teach us about team building. At what age should your child start drop shipping? It's earlier than you think. Let me explain.
Want to stay unemployed? Use the Open to Work badge on your LinkedIn profile. It's a red flag for me and most hiring managers. They just aren't brave enough to say it. Oh, by the way, this totally needed a picture of me with my perfectly clean office and company logo here.
I think these creators are really onto something, maybe bigger than they even realize. And that in a lighthearted way, they're really calling out a significant problem. The humor and messages, while they're well received by anyone who has a healthy dose of corporate drama, which honestly is anyone who has spent more than 3 months in like a corporate environment. Without that experience, it's challenging to fully grasp the intricacies of the toxic experiences that people have in corporate life every day. And nonetheless, these creators poke fun at these viral LinkedIn posts. And honestly, it's everything we dislike about corporate culture: the overachieving, the fakeness, the constant hustle. And this is exactly the content that's being described as cringeworthy on LinkedIn. So corporate has to be cringy too, right? The more I reflected on how accurate these videos are, actually the less funny it all became. If the content is cringe, and we know it's cringe, and we know for sure that cringy is bad, I know this because I asked my 10-year-old, the answer is uncomfortable. LinkedIn reflects a really deep problem with corporate life, one that's rooted in privilege, status, and systemic inequalities. The LinkedIn feed mirrors corporate life. It's out of touch, performative, and the feed isn't just awkward. It reflects this major disconnect between leadership and employees. Executives love to push these narratives about culture growth, personal fulfillment, but the realities of the workforce tell a really different story. Employees are struggling with burnout, financial instability, the need for flexible work options. Leadership's focus on intangible benefits like purpose and service recognition feels really out of touch for most employees who prioritize things like job security, fair wages, and stability. It's not just LinkedIn posts that reveal this disconnect, though. A study found that leaders overemphasize this idea of relational benefits like recognition and purpose, instead of addressing the actual needs of frontline employees who value things like better pay and job security. The disconnect goes on. It's highlighted by executives who push for a return to work. 77% of remote workers are more productive at home, yet 90% of executives want to bring them back to the office. So they're ignoring the data. LinkedIn plays a role in amplifying these narratives, reflecting what leaders want us to see and believe, even when it conflicts with the reality of their workforce and cold hard data. Well, a few creators on the platform use the platform to challenge the narratives. They're definitely in the minority. Most of LinkedIn's content serves a leadership agenda, and it creates this sort of like echo chamber where privileged ideals dominate and workers are left trying to meet these really unattainable expectations. LinkedIn's algorithm may be part of the problem. It seems to promote content that reinforces these executive ideals rather than employee realities. It rewards these performative posts that fit into the leadership narrative, making it really hard to have genuine conversations about the systemic challenges. And let's face it, we aren't surprised. We feel this disconnect, right? If LinkedIn reflects what leaders want from us, it must also reflect the systemic issues of the workplace. And think about it. If success means like these perfect morning routines and going to expensive Tony Robbins conferences, those without the privilege to participate in those activities are excluded. Therefore, they can't actually be successful. Privilege wins and everyone else is left playing a game that they can't possibly win. On top of this, the imbalance of power on LinkedIn means that workers are actually incented to interact with this cringe content, even if it prompts the cringe and eye rolls. They understand that interacting and engaging with such posts can enhance their own personal brand and project an image of alignment with leadership. This dynamic really fosters a culture where employees feel compelled to suck up by leaders, in turn amplifying their messages, inadvertently reinforcing a hierarchy that prioritizes the voices of those at the top and perpetuates those issues that exist on the platform. As a result, the cycle of engagement with leadership content perpetuates, and it overshadows the perspectives and insights from the broader workforce, which quite frankly would make us cringe way less. By prioritizing authentic voices and experiences, the professional workforce would feel seen and heard, maybe even valued for their contributions. And this would foster a more inclusive corporate environment and a better LinkedIn. It would be great for those leaders to hear those voices too. That information could help them to manage their companies and compensation in ways where the workforce is actually valuing it. They aren't listening to data. Would they listen to actual personal stories and experiences? Maybe. The shift would enhance engagement on the platform and also foster more genuine connection, where diverse ideas and insights and approaches are actually celebrated. It would also mean that it wouldn't be so easy for other content creators to poke fun at LinkedIn, because seriously, it is like way too easy for them. I popped over to LinkedIn while writing the script for this, and this is what I saw. Balancing the algorithm with your values. The LinkedIn feed really reflects what leaders want us to see and hear, and the workforce is incented to engage with this crap content because it's aligned with their best interests and personal brand. So in this sense, LinkedIn is like a dictatorship. I'm forced to like your cringe content. But there's also this kind of democracy on there. If you can master the game, like show up in a way that aligns with leadership values, you can access opportunities you might not have otherwise found. The key is to balance what the algorithm wants while staying true to your values. Or let's be totally real, you could ditch your values altogether to get what you want. It's totally up to you. You could make up one of these vulnerable stories, and whether it's true or not, it could garner the attention of a CEO, and you could ultimately land your dream job. So there's the democracy. If you know how to use LinkedIn, while the cringe moments can make you feel like the platform is just a lost cause, it still offers this real value. Honestly, I landed a 6-figure contract because I got a cold message from a CEO that I wouldn't have met otherwise. He discovered me on LinkedIn. So connections on the platform have brought me new insights, opportunities, and new relationships. The key is to know how to use LinkedIn strategically. Yes, it can feel performative at times, but the platform does more than just host this social feed. There's a backend, and that connects people, drives businesses, and provides a space to showcase skills and services to those in power. There is a whole world behind the social feed that isn't discussed in those parody videos, although a lot of that might be cringe too. LinkedIn is a business tool that can drive growth, build connections, and showcase your skills. You're gonna have to decide. At the end of the day, LinkedIn is truly what you make it of. Yes, it is often catering to these privileged narratives of business leaders who are disconnected from the workers, like the data shows. However, it also offers these really unique opportunities for growth, connection, and influence. So it's really essential to recognize that just as TikTok mostly appeals to Gen Z and Facebook resonates with moms that want to brag, LinkedIn primarily serves its target user base, privileged leaders who dictate the content and the tone of the conversation. So now that we understand this, the real question becomes, what will we do with the information? We can choose to change the narrative by actively sharing diverse perspectives, even when it's uncomfortable. This requires courage and commitment to elevating voices that challenge the status quo. or we can do nothing and accept that the cringeworthy content is just going to overtake our feeds. Ultimately, it's up to us to decide whether we'll laugh at the cringe and move on, or seize the opportunity to redefine success on our own terms. Either way, we'll be scrolling a sea of motivational quotes and polished selfies, I think, for a while yet. Still, maybe along the way, we can be the ones saying success isn't about ice baths and fancy conferences. Maybe it's about becoming enlightened enough to see that success isn't a one size fits all. Because if it were, that would be cringe.